They told you it's just salt, just water, just a toilet. But here's the truth. Some of the most powerful rituals on earth are hidden in the ordinary. Not in temples, not in chants, but in the moments no one else sees. When you drop salt into the toilet, you're not casting a spell, you're making a choice to let go, to cleanse not just your space, but your state. For centuries, monks, warriors, mystics all understood this. Salt absorbs what the mind holds onto. In ancient Shaolin training, before meditation, before movement, there was always purification, not just of the body, but of intention. Salt water, flowing, releasing. This is not superstition, it's sacred psychology, a language older than words. You're not just flushing a substance, you're flushing a pattern. In this video, I will show you how a small silent act done with focus can shift the energy in your home and in your life. We'll break down the ancient symbolism of salt, the meaning of water as a spiritual gate, and how to combine intention with movement to break what people call curses, patterns of pain, fear, and repetition. Stay with me until the end. Because this isn't about one act, it's about a way of living, a way of remembering, and the moment you begin to practice it daily, you'll feel the shift, not outside, within. You're not powerless, you're just untrained, but training begins now. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Subscribe to walk this path with us. Most people think the body is where release ends. But in Shaolin, we know the body is only the surface. Real release happens deeper, where thoughts gather, where emotions stick, where silent stories run on repeat. Every day, you flush away what your body no longer needs. You never question it. You don't hesitate. Waste is waste. It doesn't belong inside. But how many people keep emotional waste inside for years? Resentment, regret, guilt, thought loops that serve nothing, but still circle the mind like ghosts. In the monastery, even cleaning is meditation. When we sweep, we're not just clearing dust, we're clearing the mind. When we wash our bowl, we're not just preparing for food, we're honoring presence. The same applies here. Dropping salt into the toilet, watching it dissolve, and flushing it away becomes a reminder: I do not need to carry everything. I choose what stays, I choose what leaves. Salt has always been sacred. It purifies, it preserves, it absorbs. In spiritual traditions across the world, it's used to hold space, to cleanse, to protect. But here, used in this quiet personal ritual, it becomes something even more intimate. A conversation between you and your awareness. You're saying to yourself, I see what I've been holding, and now I choose to release it. This is not about force. It's not about dramatic change. It's about small, consistent reminders to live lighter, to move cleaner, to think clearer. And when your mind begins to treat emotional weight like physical waste, something to be recognized and released, you begin to experience freedom, not as an idea, but as a daily practice. One handful of salt at a time. A curse isn't always loud. It doesn't need fire or chanting or someone wishing you harm. Most curses live quietly inside, hidden in repetition. The same reaction, the same mistake, the same story you keep telling yourself. This always happens to me. That's the real curse. Not an outside force, but an inner loop that refuses to break. In Shaolin, we call this a karmic cycle, a loop of energy and action that feeds itself. When you're unaware, it owns you. You wake up, react the same way, think the same thoughts, and wonder why nothing changes. But you don't break a loop by running faster. You break it by stopping. Stillness is the beginning of mastery, not the absence of motion, but the presence of awareness. When you sit, breathe, and truly look within, without blame, without fear, you begin to see the pattern clearly. And once you see it, you are no longer inside it, you're above it. The discipline of a Shaolin monk isn't just in movement, it's in attention. We train to observe ourselves with precision. Every habit, every trigger, every emotional reflex. We don't fight the curse, we study it. We understand its shape, its roots, and then without drama, we do what it cannot survive, we change. Not with violence, not with desperation, but with calm repetition. Different breath, different words, a different pause. That's how a pattern dies, not all at once, but piece by piece through awareness and action. You don't need to shout at your demons, you just need to stop feeding them. And in that stillness where the loop once lived, a new path quietly appears, not cursed, not chaotic, just clear. Discipline doesn't begin when the bell rings. It begins when you wake up, with how you place your feet on the ground, with how you breathe before standing. Every moment is an invitation to return to yourself. Shaolin monks are not monks only in the hall. They are monks while folding robes, gathering water, or chopping vegetables in silence. That's the heart of the path. Nothing is too ordinary to be sacred. We were taught this early. The external temple is a reflection. The real temple is within. And if you wait for the perfect place, the perfect time, the perfect setting to be present, you'll miss the point. The practice is now. Always now. Even in something as simple as dropping salt into water, there is a choice to rush through it or to feel the weight of what you're releasing, to let the sound of the flush be more than noise, to let it be a sign that you are done holding what needs to go. That's the shift from routine to ritual, from doing to being. The salt is not powerful on its own. It becomes powerful when it carries intention. The water is not holy on its own. It becomes holy when you meet it with full attention. This is what mastery looks like, not perfection but presence. A kind of inner silence that watches each act with care. When you bring mindfulness into your smallest actions, the world around you begins to change. Not because life is different, but because you are. The training moves into your hands, your breath, your gaze, and suddenly even the most ordinary corner of your home becomes a temple. Not because it looks sacred, but because you treated it as sacred. Thought without movement is like a seed left in dry soil. It holds potential, but nothing grows. And movement without thought is just noise, empty of meaning. The path of mastery lies in the meeting point between the two, where intention sharpens action and action brings intention to life. Salt sitting in a jar does nothing. A wish spoken in your mind without motion dissolves in the air. But when you take that salt, place it into water with full awareness, when your breath slows, your thoughts align, and your hands move with purpose, then something deeper begins to shift. This is not about superstition. It's about alignment. In ancient practice, every movement was tied to meaning. A bow was not just a gesture, it was humility. A breath was not just air, it was presence. The body and mind were never meant to work alone. One guides, the other anchors. When you act with clear intention, the energy changes, not outside, but within. You start to trust yourself more. You follow through. You become reliable to your own spirit, and that builds strength that no one can give you from the outside. Discipline is born in the body, but its roots grow in the mind. You train both together, not just on the training floor, but everywhere. In silence, in the kitchen, at night when no one is watching. Especially then, it's a quiet power, not dramatic, not loud, but steady, unshakable, the kind of strength that grows one act at a time. A hand reaching for salt, a breath taken before you pour, a calm voice within saying, I choose this, I release this, I return to center. Look around your space, the clutter on the floor, the dust in the corners, the objects out of place. They speak, not in words, but in feeling. When the outer world is tangled, the inner world rarely stays calm. And when the mind is clouded, it begins to tolerate chaos without question. In Shaolin life, we clean not just for appearance, but for alignment. A swept floor, an ordered room, a quiet corner, these are not luxuries. They are necessary, because the space around you is not separate from you, it holds your thoughts. It carries your energy, it either supports your stillness or agitates it. Salt in the toilet may seem like a small thing, but it's part of something larger. A kind of energetic hygiene, a way of saying, I care for what is unseen. I clear the stagnant. I flush out the weight I no longer need. Not just from my room, but from my field, from the invisible layer that surrounds and shapes me. This isn't about being obsessive, it's about being conscious. You start to notice how much noise is hiding in your environment, how the clutter on your desk becomes tension in your shoulders, how the dirty sink feeds quiet frustration. It's all connected, and once you see it, you can no longer ignore it. So you clean, not just to make things look better, but to feel clearer. You open space, not just in your home, but in your heart. You invite calm in by removing what doesn't belong. And when you do this regularly, when care becomes rhythm, your environment stops pulling you down. It starts lifting you, supporting your path, reminding you quietly, peace is not found, it is created, one space at a time. Freedom isn't something you reach once and keep forever. It's not a mountain you climb, plant a flag and call it done. Real freedom, the kind that lives in the body, breath and mind, requires rhythm. It requires return. In Shaolin, nothing is practiced once. We breathe, move, sit, observe again and again. Not because we forget, but because we understand Clarity fades when not refreshed. Dust settles, patterns creep back in. The mind left unattended returns to old noise. That's why discipline matters, not for control, but for liberation. Cleansing is no different. You can't pour salt in water once and expect to be clean for life. You can't release a heavy thought once and believe it won't return. You flush, you let go, and the next day you do it again. Because the world keeps moving, emotions rise, thoughts stick, life shakes you. So you train yourself to reset, not with effort, but with rhythm. This is the heart of mastery. Not dramatic change, but steady return. Like waves smoothing a stone, like breath softening the body. You become lighter, not because the world changes, but because you've learned to release consistently, consciously, calmly. Some days it's a small release, a single breath, a handful of salt, a quiet pause before speaking. Other days it feels deeper, like you've poured out something old and hidden. But the key is to keep showing up, to meet yourself daily, to trust that each act, though small, is part of your transformation. In this rhythm, you stop chasing freedom like a prize. You start living it as a practice, as a choice, every day. When fear rises, most people reach for distraction, noise, movement, anything to not feel the discomfort. They turn on music, scroll, talk, escape. But in doing so, they push the darkness deeper, where it waits, where it grows. Shaolin teaches a different way. When the mind is storming, when emotion swells, when something bitter rises from within, the instruction is simple: sit, be still, breathe, do not run from it, do not wrestle it, just let it rise, fully, and leave. This goes against what we've been taught, that problems require fixing, that pain must be avoided. But not all healing is loud. Some of the deepest cleansing comes in silence. When you allow the mind to settle, when you stop feeding the story, when you observe the darkness without judgment, it begins to dissolve on its own. Salt, in this practice, becomes a symbol, a container for what you're releasing, a way to name the poison and flush it from your space. But remember, salt is a tool, not the answer. The answer is always presence, stillness, the quiet courage to stay with yourself when things feel heavy. There is power in not reacting, in not needing to scream, explain, or control. That stillness, calm, grounded, alert is what transforms you. Not all at once, but moment by moment, as you teach your nervous system, we don't need to run, we don't need to fight, we are safe here. And so you sit. You breathe, you let it rise, you let it go. Not through force, not through drama, but through discipline, through presence, through silence strong enough to hold the storm without being shaken. The real curse is not outside of you. It isn't someone's words or some unseen force chasing your steps. The true curse is forgetting who you are when the noise gets loud, forgetting your breath when fear creeps in, forgetting your path when comfort calls louder than truth. It starts slowly. You skip your practice. You rush through the day. You silence that small voice inside that knows better. And over time, the distance grows between you and your discipline, between you and your deeper self. That's how the curse takes root. Not through magic, but through neglect. But here's the thing. It's reversible. Always. One moment of remembrance can pull you back. One breath, one act of presence, one quiet ritual, done with full attention, can reconnect the broken thread. This is why rituals matter. Not because they hold power by themselves, but because they remind you of your power. Salt in water, a bow before sitting, a silent pause before you speak. These are signals to the mind: come back, wake up, be here. In ancient practice, remembrance was everything. That's what discipline is. Not punishment, not control, but memory. The body remembers how to move. The breath remembers how to calm. The spirit remembers its path. And when you align with that memory, the fog begins to clear. The curse fades the moment you choose to return. And every return makes you stronger. You remember that you are not the chaos, not the fear, not the pattern. You are the awareness behind it, the calm within it, the one who can begin again, no matter how far you've drifted. That is sovereignty, and that is the path. Mastery isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It shows up in quiet choices, in how you breathe through discomfort, how you clean your space with care, how you let go of what no longer belongs. Even something as small as dropping salt into water becomes a reminder: I am not trapped, I can begin again. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to wait for a special day. All you need is the willingness to return, to make your daily life your practice, your silence, your strength, your presence, your protection. So next time the old pattern returns, don't fight it, notice it, name it, release it, again and again, without fear, without noise. That's how the path unfolds, quietly, consistently, in your own hands. Thank you for walking with us. If this teaching spoke to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire. Until next time, stay grounded and keep releasing.